It has been a long time, a very long time, and it's very loud. That was fucking loud. Yeah, very long time. It's like Christmas Eve today. Holy shit. Yep, 24th. I don't remember. I think the last one was like November. I don't know what the fuck happened. Work happened. Really, like a lot of work. But since 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 that, I've been trying to improve myself with my memory. Taking fish oil. It's kind of helping a bit. It seems to be not so foggy in my head. Holy shit, man. I feel like I'm getting out of something. It's crazy. But anyway. Get that fucking shit. Okay. I was working on Quinlan. And holy good Christ, did a lot of things happen. A lot of things happened with Quinlan. And that's kind of what I'm going to probably go over a bit in here. I would imagine. One would think. I also have an update about the book. And then... Let me see what else. I got the update about the book. I got the Quinlan thing. I think that's really it. I don't know. The major updates, as far as I can say. I mean, obviously there's more little things here and there spattered about, but for the most part, it's just those two. And it's 8:04 in the morning on 12/24/2020. I got out of a midnight shift very early, and I was able to get home before 1 o'clock, get some sleep, and then I woke up at 6. So that's pretty cool. I get the whole day, then I get Christmas off as well. So that's kind of cool. Anyway, we're just gonna talk about everything that I've been doing with Quinlan. Because I was trying to figure him out and for the story, and I was trying to do whatever the fuck I was thinking about. What? Oh, Christ, dude. I think it's again, I just feel like I'm getting out of a fog of insanity or something. I don't know. Like just like doing crazy shit. Trying to fucking just wrap my head around this book. Again, no format. It's not going to be like, okay, today's segment will be then I'll transition into this one with music and all that. Like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to subject people to like fucking like, I'm not making money here. And I'm not even going to pretend. And also, it's like, fuck that corporate bullshit of like how to structure your, like, no, I'm done. Anyway. Oh, I don't even know where to begin with Quinlan. Because what I was doing at first was I was compiling everything I could find about the guy. Everything. Any mention of him or... and of course, I'm going to be yawning a lot. Because as soon as I do this, it's like, you want to keep yawning? Yeah. Can I please yawn throughout the whole thing? Yes, anyway, so I was literally just trying to, like, find things about him. That's all I was doing. That's it. There's nothing I was trying to accomplish besides that. And with that, I've been slowly... Oh, that was the third update. That's what it was. Reimagining of the circle and what's inside of it. I had a point where I was getting so stressed out trying to figure out this book that I realized that it's okay to make new things, because there was a point where I kept how do I even word that? I just wanted to stay in the old ideas. Like I can't venture from anything I've already done. It has to stay within that to keep its integrity, right? I was doing that for so long. There's nothing wrong with that, because it definitely helped me kind of, flesh out a lot of things. But I allowed myself to finally be free to create some new things and Like, let's put in a new wall. I don't know. Let's redo this room or something. Whatever analogy works. I don't know. Damn it. And so I'm trying to remember how I started. I think I started it with like the realms or something like that. I think that's where it began because I was at work. Like, it hit me at work. It was the thing. Working the midnight shift, sitting there, tired as fuck, and then all of a sudden, it just. I'm reading something real quick. I'm trying to see if this is the right thing. Philosophy of consciousness. That's one of them. I'm gonna read them. Maybe it's prologue. The darkness, blah blah blah. That's confession. Keeper order. That is not it. That's interesting. I don't remember ever making that. No, I did that. I did that. Meeting elder beasts. Was it the elder beasts? No. That's something new too. Answers are risen. Was that it? Of Cyprus. Nope. That's not it. Oh my god, where was that? I've also been doing things while I'm looking. I've also been like trying to jump on that Reddit stuff. Just to see. And it's like, dude, I don't like how many people think they're fucking critics nowadays. I haven't gotten anything really bad. I've only done a couple, if I'm honest. And for the most part, it's pretty positive, except, I don't give people the beginning. I throw them in a random spot. But for the most part, at least I know my writing when I edit is pretty good. That's given me enough confidence to say, okay, you can write. You just need to figure out how to splash this in, which, and make a decent story. So that was kind of an experiment, I guess. And I'm at the same time do this modern culture thing where everyone's a fucking critic, man. Everybody. Like, there's literally YouTube channels devoted to fucking people critiquing video games. Like, seriously. Video games. Are you goddamn kidding me? So, yeah, that was going on. Where did I put Farthest Outpost of Mankind? That is not it. Damn it, dude. Again. It's just the search for information. I swore it wasn't just the high story. Prologue, the high story yesterday, last week, older, possible new intro, the Monarchs. Rise of Man, Stone Circle, Forgotten King and Thought. That was on 11/10. Possible new intro, no. Working on Warrior Culture. High Story 1, the beginning of the High Story might be it. Let me just, there is a lot of grammatical errors on it, which is what, whatever. Fuck it. That's the one thing. It's like, if you're critiquing, you're on a page designed for critiquing. Like, just understand that most people are like, I don't care about for me personally, the grammar. The grammar is the job of the editor. Hey, when you fucking worded this here, maybe put a semicolon there. Like, okay, that's why I work with the editor. When I critique someone's work that's very untouched, I can go past that shit because I'm not a snob. I can read past it's a bit rough right there, and look at the bones of it and see if that's what I fucking want. Basically, someone that is good as me at like critiquing work. Because I've critiqued people's work before, and you kind of have to like look beyond that shit. You have to like, ew, that word's not spelled right, or well, that sentence is a bit runny, or whatever. I don't know, whatever grammatical thing. It's like, dude, just chill the fuck out and tell me if the bones of the story are good. Well, I can't because I can't get in the flow of it. There is no flow. That's not for you. You are critiquing the book. You're not the reader, dumb fuck. Anyway, besides that, the beginning of the high story. I think I was at work and I just started writing this, maybe? I don't remember. The book will end with the cliffhanger that beyond the realm of life, many beings inhabit. Yes, okay. The problem on Yuandra are but minuscule. There are gods, quote, fighting wars beyond, and some that look to enter the realm of life. In the end, there is the realization that nothing truly matters to Eris. There is much in the, quote, great beyond that was shown by him, to him by the Forgotten King. He has become lost to the greater struggle. Perhaps in some way the Forgotten King shows him the truth that lies outside. Eris and his brethren show signs of madness because they see what really happens, what is really at stake. Most do not survive the initiation to this understanding. Most are not deemed worthy. When Eris asks about the many monarchs through the ages and how only but a few have accomplished great change in Adrana, the Forgotten King responds, most do not understand what light touches them. They find the rays only open up the way they have always sought. It was easier that way, I suppose, to see what your reality is. That was never the gift to mankind I bestowed. It was what became of free will. End quote. In time, the Forgotten King becomes more and more clear to Eris, and in that time he has become more and more lost to the others. He will transcend the reality, and like a madman be lost the newfound reality, this newfound reality. His strength does grow, however, but at a cost of inviting the sentient being that is the Whisper. It is called to Eris like a beacon in the dark. When I think of the Whisper, I think of a slow, lumbering creature floating in the void of the mind. So large and massive it hangs in the air with many arms dangling still. It does not move, but incredibly slowly. Jesus. It does not move, but when it does, incredibly slowly, it does when needed. Okay. Well, it basically just says it doesn't move unless it does. And then when it does, it's very slow and lumbering. It is fat and plump with many folds and crevices all over its body. The mouth like a hose with many large teeth razor sharp. It's like it's a threshold guardian. Okay? For the writers out there and storytellers, it's a threshold guardian. That's what it is. From one realm to the other. And from one realm to the other is merely another analogy. It will be the beginning. Wait, oops. Wrong one. This is the being that is the beast to face in the dark dream. It is the ancient beast to enter and come out once again. When Eris faces and comes out for the other side with the Forgotten King truly was inside his own mind. Let me read that one again. In this, it's the ancient beast to enter this dark dream and come out once again. What Eris faces and comes out to the other side with the Forgotten King. So that's what I meant. Like, this is the thing that happened in a short story that you don't even know what I'm talking about that I wrote. This is for myself, of course. So it's kind of hard to like word that in a way you're like, oh, I know what you're talking about. Like, this is something that you don't know about. That's the point. It's all a mystery. It will be the beginning of the high story at the end of the first book. He will have to shed everything he knows about life and afterlife, pain, turmoil, friend, and foe. Yet, the veil was lifted in Kelendre. That was only the beginning, though. But at the same time, Martis and his master know that Eris is a threat that will destroy everything they have worked for. Just as the Serpentine are searching for him, so are those that hide in the darkness. Eris is the key, or tool rather, to make a change in the world of Yuandra. He has the potential to bring forth Aik Beovac, the last Titan. No. That's not a Titan. That must have been Sleepy. And even the Forgotten King. Will it be his choice in this? That will come in time. As of the ending of the first book, he will be presented with his first choice. And whichever I choose will dictate the rest of the story. Eris will have disappeared from Yuandra after his exile. It is possible that he has traversed the realms. I think is what I'm saying is I'm giving myself an option for him to work with the Forgotten King or Aik Beovac. He is not the last Titan. He is an Aeon. Okay. Next sentence or paragraph. Let us keep in mind that the people of Yandra have a voice as well, and that is why I must put the men of stone in Etrovia, Drana, Koran, Dubois. One could never be in the court. One could never be in the courts of Tantorum, for that is the last true realm of man. Again, this is me trying to figure out the men of stone. That's what this article was about. Like, where are they and what the fuck are they? The voices that have reached the minds of those that inhabit the realm of life are but echoes of what greater beings lie beyond. Now, one must understand that not all of the higher beings are finding themselves concerned with what lies beyond the circle. The affairs of the realm are in balance. But a bleed has been forming slowly. One that lies beyond the realm of the schism. The Elvalas formation has begun to crumble in the fated places. It would appear that disappearance of the crater has affected more than just the realm of life. The fated places are where the old memories have become long forgotten. Some have begun to call this the land of the forgotten. These are places within the realm, my friend. The realm of schism, apparently, will be a place. Think of it like 40K. Okay. Or Star Wars or fucking whatever. Like, whatever. What's that they call it? It's called fucking sci-fi fantasy kind of thing or fantastical sci-fi. I don't know. It's going to be like that. So the book will take place down in the earth, and that's your fucking Lord of the Rings and your Warhammer and your fucking whatever fantasy you enjoy. That's there. There's like spectral things and all that stuff, but it takes place in this land in this older times. Then all of a sudden the book ends and you realize, oh my goodness, there's the realm beyond. And I think I've showed a picture in the last episode. Here it is again. But then when you transcend into that realm, boom, it's like, no, it's like, it's kind of gonna, I don't know. It's conceptual in my mind right now. Is like, am I gonna portray like space and a galaxy and quadrants and all that shit and sectors and shit, or is it, it's astral? So is it parts of the mind and shit? But I'll kind of write it up in a very sci-fi way. I don't know yet. I'm kind of still thinking about it. But as of right now, I accidentally named things. Well, not accidentally. It just kind of happened as I was making this. The Elvalas Reformation is a place. I think it's how to pronounce it. Elvalas. Maybe it's Elvalas. I don't know. The Elvalas Formation and the Realm of Schism. And there's the place of the old memories have faded. Some have begun to call us land forgotten. And that's an old thing. I know. I went back to another old concept and tried to update it. But then I have the Realm of Cairn. 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 Because why wouldn't I? And then I think that's it so far. The realms within the circle. And again, I think it's either going to be each place is kind of supposed to represent a spot of the mind, or a consciousness kind of thing, or an emotion. I don't really know. It could be an emotion thing, and then maybe I'll tie it into the spirits. I don't know. But it's all new, and it's just going to be a thing. It's going to be a fucking thing. It's going to be a very, very arduous process. Because why wouldn't I do that to myself? Why don't you make it harder? But it's fine. Now, when it comes to placement in the realms, it begins to become quite difficult to describe. Words such as lands, places, realms do not do justice to where these are truly. One must at least use words such as these in order to grasp what is being written about. What the fuck was I talking about? What words that are chosen are but beyond the thought that harbors them. In the realm beyond, one can find speech to be elusive and strange, For when one enters within the true self, untampered by any outside force, one can find a language that is impossible to grasp. These are the places that receive the blessing of creation. Though to understand this, one must see there is no peace, only there is no war constantly. Jesus. Though to understand this, one must see there is no peace, only. Yet there is no war constantly. Yes, it is balance. Now, one would ask, how has the forgotten king, or as he is known by his cursed names, Hanrui, Oapake, Dulog, and countless others. That's the first time I gave Forgotten King a name, by the way. What was told in the hidden history of man was that he was the Landstrider, but in fact he was no more than a world destroyer and a fear bringer from far-reaching realms. And then I was like, holy shit. Not only did I just give the Forgotten King his first fucking name ever, I gave him a few. Because I'm like, well, he's got to have cursed names and shit. It's got to be some sort of weird thing like that. So far it's Hanrui, which Hanrui. I'm assuming it's Hanrui or Hanrui. I don't know. Oapake. Oapaek. Oapake. I don't know why I love my A's and E's in my words. Dulog. I love that word. I don't know what it is about that one. Probably because it's so close to Gulag. And I don't know. Not like I like Gulags, but I'm reading Gulag Archipelago. Dulog. And countless others. But it was kind of like always known the Forgotten King was like not maybe the best guy. You know, maybe he's not the greatest thing to ever happen. He's merely but a tool. But again, I think I started to really focus on that concept of like, okay, who really is the Forgotten King? Merely, you know, not just to man, but to where he sits beyond that. And that was conceptually what I was doing there. To which that, holy fuck, bro. Best friend leads to, okay. And then I broke some things down here. This one's a little bit more heftier, so let me get a water because I've forgotten how dry my throat will get doing this. Anyways, any Wizzawats. This one's also called The High Story because it's about the high story. And then at the end there, it's like, I guess it's going to be nothing to some people. Like, well, fucking dumbass. Of course, that's what it was about. But I didn't see it in my mind that way. My mind is a weird fucking thing where it's like, to me, I can explain something 1,000 times. And it's like, yes, we get it. We get it. The Forgotten King wore brown pants that day. And I'm like, but you don't understand what I'm talking about. And then then finally it'll just hit me like, oh my God, he was wearing brown pants. You know, it's just how I am. You know, I definitely have issues, I think. I don't know. Anyway, so here's the next. I always say reports. I don't even know if that's the right word. Article, story, fucking synopsis, whatever. I'm going to call it reports from now on. The philosophy of the consciousness connected at the idea of change can become in time corrupted and evil. Now, when I look at the world, I see people believing they are doing and acting in the faith of goodness. But what is truly there is the march into oppression and darkness. Yeah, that's just like, that must have been a writing, like, how I always try to explain it is like I stream of consciousness right, always. Every single time I never really think right. I just stream of consciousness. Sometimes I need to crank the fucking car in the old days to make it start, or I just need something to give me some momentum, you know. So I'll just kind of like, let me just do a little, just like when I played music. Whenever I would go and write a song or put an instrument onto a track that someone wrote, I would always kind of, you know, just like any fucking musician, you just fiddle around quietly, just do. Ooh, that might be cool. I'll do this and that. And then all of a sudden you wait, 2, 3, 4, and you jump in and you try it, and then you fail and you try and you fail and all of a sudden you find a rhythm, blah, blah, blah. I approach writing the same way. So sometimes I got to kind of jump into it, and I'm like, well, let's just kind of write something, stream of consciousness, and let's get that out, and then we'll kind of form and melt into our topic. So that's why if you ever notice the beginnings of a lot of my papers are written like, what the fuck, has nothing to do with the rest of the paper. That's just what I do. I don't know why, but I can't help it. So I'll start over. The philosophy of consciousness connected at the idea of change can become in time corrupted and evil. Now, when I look at the world, I see people believing they are doing and acting in the faith of goodness. But what is truly there is the march into oppression and darkness. This must show throughout the book. The fact that people think they are making changes in the world are themselves full of the stars that dot the night sky. The real reality is when a large group of people look to make something so, then already has become corrupted and tainted. For they allow the right kind of people into their fold. For consciousness to grow, it at first is of pure intent. But in time, there are archetypal people who hold some sort of truth within that will slowly bleed in. Until the last of it is a delusional nature. What we see in the world around us is young fools thinking they have the answer to change. They feel casting to the darkness is what they need in their time. To never understand, but to shun and dismiss. They bow to the altar of hypocrisy. We see now the slaves unto weakness, or their minds slowly fall into ruin. And it was we who allowed it. Anyway, so then that jumps into this. Now, saying that, I believe that I've discovered just why the men of stone wear the masks of the ancients. So apparently that was triggered as I was writing this. It allows them to commune with those that fall into the realm of life. Now, these devices are from an age long past, but how it could work is that the user can see what lies beyond the lowest realm when chosen. Any who have the receiver on the other end are throughout the realm, though not in the realm of life. So Quinlan and his brothers are in communication with possibly the keepers. The next bit of information is that the Anaku are themselves in communication with an entity from beyond, one that is guiding their progress in the realm of life. It is giving them keys to success when it comes to finding immortality once again. The entity is asking them to resurrect the Titans of old, so that it may come into the realm of life and rule over. Find out why it needs to, as well as who it was. These are the topics I was working on, by the way. Clearly. How is the Whisper attached to all of this? I believe it is just a quiet being moving between realms in the hearts and minds of all. It is no threat, say that which it can infect. It is mindless and massive in its reach. Virus, one could say. The fog that hides the real enemy, the evil entity that lies beyond. Now, let's try to remember this to keep it all straight. These are all the moving parts. This next section is me saying, okay, let's just lay out on the table everything that the book's concerning. All the topics, all the stories, and everything. It's not just about Eris. Eris is just the part I'm writing right now. It's about everybody. That's why this book's probably going to take me my whole life to write. If I continue at this pace. So here are all the moving parts. I'm going to lay it out flat. And I hope Jacob and Kevin are fucking listening. God damn it. Oh, we listen. Eris is needed by the Forgotten King. He is the last option to come back to the mortal realm within the century. The Forgotten King is hellbent on using Eris no matter the cost, the key to his escape and his revenge. Saying that, the Forgotten King is a greedy Aeon, who screwed up all of those who live in the realm of life. It was his choice that damned the Anaku and other races on the planet. It was his lust for power that corrupted his will. The land of life holds a barrier of fear that spreads throughout. He looked to become a god instead of a mad king he was always meant to be. The men of stone were sent to stop this from happening. They are pledged from the outside world by the Almighty Keepers, the ones who keep all in balance, and time weavers to the shifting hands. They are the arbiters to the ever-moving realms. The men of stone have forsaken their astral bodies in order to bring stability to the realm of life and bring a balance to the lowest beings. They seek to bring them into the fold. They have been tasked by the ancient order to make right in the realm of life. Mankind is now cursed with magic, and they feel grants them immortality. Magic does. They siphon it from their own creator instead of freeing him. They are in a constant toil of rebirth and never-changing prophecies to be doomed forever to commit the same sin repeatedly. Power was harnessed by mankind over their world to free themselves from the hanging threat of darkness that closes all around them. Some have taken to draining the power of the Creator. Yet some believe that freeing him will save the world from destruction. The last of the Aeon, who went into hiding, are now coming back, and are now determined to enter the realm themselves. Because in the realm of life, fear has grown and spread rapidly unchecked, and their ambition is fogged by fear. So whenever one enters the realm, they are nerfed mentally. The Darkness Pact has risen again and are calling their creations to one last War of the Gods. I'm basically kind of like zooming in more and more. And then I'm also telling you this is happening, that's happening, this is happening, this is happening. And it's going to be written about, obviously. You know. The Slop King, or Eik Beovas, has hired 2 in his service to begin his taking of the world. He calls his Valanders to him and is creating a massive army from the memories of mankind, to which he has hijacked their ancestral lines to fold into his army. For many years has he sowed the seeds of war while he gathered his strength to get back at the Forgotten King and take his place in the realm where he feels he could rule. Zooming in more. Mardus is doing the bidding of his creator because he must, but he is also an ambitious mage looking for the source of magic. His long life is dependent on the mages in the west. Monarchs, they are called. He and his brethren have infiltrated the high society of Adrana and have been siphoning power off of mankind like that of ticks in order to maintain their power and lives. He has long ago sowed the unification of Valander and Serpentine in order to maintain an alliance for his master's benefits, at the cost of the castrated monarchs or the used. Quartus is a pawn in a great game. He was tricked into aiding the Slop King at the promise of something. But he was invaded by a being from beyond that aids the Slop King, so he is slowly losing himself to that. And that's Anvir. Anvir is the dream hunter. The Serpentine Order that have been created by the High Order of Anaku in order to solve the problems of fading. They have been taking the life force of human mages in order to prolong the fade enough, as well as many other heinous tests against mankind. The Anaku are fading from the world because of this, and are now looking to bring back a lost titan at the behest of an ancient being from beyond the realm. They swear their fealty to something they will never understand. This being lies outside the realm of life, and within the circle. It is a king within its own domain, a ruler with an iron fist. Reality being the most almighty of the elder kings, who twisted and played with what mortals would call time. In the realms outside the circle they wait, those ancient beings that consume our perceptions. They cast the fog on the ideas we would try and form around the place, only pretending to be full and rich of visuals. Contrasted light, it was dark. That's like high story stuff. Not to mention all of Atria is at the brink of war on a massive scale. Then I started going like, so those are that's all story things. You got Mardus story, Quartus is happening. You got the Men of Stone with a side major story of Quinlan. You got the Serpentine Order, the Anaku. You got the Slop King, a couple other kings as well. We'll call them the Aeon. You got the story of mankind in Adrana and all that stuff. You've got the story of the Forgotten King, I just said, and then Eris, obviously. So all those are the moving parts that all rely on each other that are, the main story. But not only that, but we're on a fucking brink of war throughout all of Atria. Adrana. Now, this nation is focused on the concerns of the Forgotten King. It has dictated their motives. The divide between using and aiding has grown stronger in the realm of the ruling class. They use the monarchs as their mages, ruling each hold. Now, the infiltration of the Valanders has swayed their motive, and the leaking of the Slop King's corruption has grown year by year. Man is man, and corruption will always seek the weak of heart. When it comes to the affairs of external, they have acquired lands in the once wild north. This has broken the pact between them and the northern giant, Wildmen. They have also increased trade with outside nations. They have a trade network even with the Anaku, a, quote, benefit both sides situation. It's by no means an alliance, but because Adrana is a nation friendly to Anaku, well, the average Anaku, they are seen as neutral in the upcoming war. When it comes to the Serpentine Order that was born out of the succession or radicals, they hold no love for this nation. Now, those in Etrovia hold no favor to the Serpentine officially. Unofficially, a group has infiltrated the high courts of Etrovia. Quinlan has made this his mission to cut the infection of the serpent that is corrupting the order. He's looking to make a wrong a right. Lyria has been fighting an on and off war against their southern neighbors, Tantorum. They harbor their Serpentine Order and are funding their efforts to find a cure to the dilemma, quote. The nation is slowly turning vampiric. That's a word that I'm going to use right now, but it's going to change as they do this. It has become such a problem that it has all but weakened their nation and caused the neutrality against Adrana to fall apart slowly. The skirmishes in the mountain nations have become more and more rampant. The Confederacy of Naril are the collection of mountain folk that live throughout the Gayavala. They have become more and more isolated politically, but the increase in trade is how they survive. Their land acts as a neutral state against all nations. They offer the, quote, drug that keeps nations going. The magical powder. This is what the Lyrians mix with the blood of mankind for their elixir of life. So the Lyrians are definitely become, like, obviously there's no love between, I would imagine, Tantorum and, like, Etrovia. But their concern with the Lyrians is much more important. Not only is that just, like, this fucking neighbor, but what they're doing when it is found out. Hence why Hill 464 was discovered near, was it Hill Charlie 314?
Charlie 413.
Like Kevin was talking about? I think so. I think that's what it was. But anyway, they're keeping an eye on this. Now, this is not known, like, oh my God, the average person, did you hear what's going on over there? It's just like real fucking politics. Like there's shit we just aren't being told that's going on. Like this probably like, oh yeah, Russia was going to do this, but then, we are watching them, and then like the average person's like, holy fuck, that's terrifying. Well, we can't tell them. They have, whatever their fucking bullshit reasoning is. But anyway, that's kind of what was known to Tantorum when it comes to Lyria. It's definitely a threat that needs to be handled and pull the wound from this once great Anaku nation. But then again, you have Tantorum who are they xenophobes? I mean, yeah, they're xenophobes for sure, but they'll, that's not what Gearlord was wanting. He saw there was a problem, but I didn't really go into the Gearlord stuff and all that. I didn't get a chance to go that deep. But that's what he was going to do, and then he was killed and stuff. So, blah, blah, blah. Tantorum has cut themselves off from their creator and no longer worships any other than war and technology. They have become the most advanced and strongest civilization in all of Atria. Their thirst for war has led them to conquering most of the known world in their time. They were the chosen people by a disguised god called Dove for his seed of treachery. The bloodline of Tan was to cause for their creator's own cursing. Now Tantorum stands on the edge of destruction from within. If they do not solve the issue of state and a wicked ruler named Vandensteer and his puppets, the lost Prince Vathia will seek his revenge for the death of his father, the man who sought peace from within the state, and with all those who stand against the empire. He is troubled by visions and is courted by a goddess to his people. He is being groomed by the new ruler of his country. So yeah, basically, when it comes to Tantorum, I don't talk about Tantorum a whole lot, but because it's not my domain. But that's kind of what's happening over there. You have the death of this great man, this execution of him, who was trying to fix the problems of within state, and this Vandenstier fucker. And also you have this issue in Lyria. So Tantorum is the bastion of mankind, and they need a saving. They need saving, okay? The other bastion of mankind, I would say, in the south, the confederacy of these people that were once connected to mankind and probably also share blood with other beings to be figured out. Bit of a melting pot down there. In Dubois, they are preparing an all-out invasion to the south beyond the Gayufa Mountains. Yeah, that's it. They are retreating from the blight that has swept across their northern territory. The blight will turn any and all to dust and is breaking from containment, along with beasts exiting the haze. Those in Dubois have sought to retreat south for safety, but found the filthy southerners standing between their destruction and salvation. They are throwing all they can to conquer the lands to the south, lands that were stolen by the fractured Tanto people from the once Tantoric expanse. Their creator, the Aeon Blank, I don't have his name yet, has long been said to have been hiding in the Blightlands. But unbeknownst to them, he has met his doom, and his rotting corpse is infecting all of the lands. Their prayers have not been answered, and their God has abandoned them. Though salvation is through war, and war with those who took from is a war worth fighting. So those in Dubois are not Anaku anymore. They are their own race of people with their own Aeon. Of the Dark Pack. The Dark Pack of the Aeon. I don't remember what I'm going to call it right now. Those are all the Aeons that created their own beings that weren't supposed to. So you have... Forgotten King. Tulag, we'll call him. You have Aik Beovak, who created the Valanders. And there'll be more. So that's another thing happening with Dubois. They're just trying to escape this blight from this curse. And what stands in their way? The fucking Southerners. And they're in the way. But they're not doing anything wrong down there. But they're in the way. In the lands of the south, Ansar, a confederacy is forming, or seeking to, against the might of the north of North Ansar. In the kingdom of Koran, King Vesemir seeks to bring all of the south under one banner to gain strength. At his side is Mycian, a man of stone that aids in his lofty ambitions. An alliance with the new Tantorum is in their eye, and aiding an outcast prince called Vathia is all they have left with an alliance on man. So they send an important, quote, fellowship consisting of a Tiewe, a Naku, some mercenaries, a southern noble, and a handman. And a handman. I don't know. It's like singular, so whatever. Because they're called handmen in a group, but what do you call them singular? He's still a handman? I don't know. To the king named Alastra. Now, Alastra, this is his story. This is what is happening. For no matter what is happening to the characters, there is something large looming overhead that pulls its strings. I didn't write Alastra. So that's kind of like, here's all the moving pieces. This was what's all going on in this world. It's not just, I'm writing one story plot and there's a thing around him and he's the chosen one and he's got to put the ring in the fire or either do that or destroy the Sith. It's not like that. It's like much more going on around it. Not just character-wise. We're talking about so far, technically one. The South will call just one, even though there's nations in the South. But within the South, there's a lot of stories going on. But let's just say one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 nations have their own agendas and what they're trying to do, and each one has its own characters within it. This is why it's going to be a chronicle. It's going to be a long story. It's not just one book. It's going to have to be. And I don't know how I'm going to do it. Because the energy it takes just to do one book is terrifying. But I think once you get the rhythm. And then you have all these characters within it. You have races that are having their own problems, like Anaku, Man, Valander, the people of Dubois. They're having their own problems and characters within that. Then you also have groups, the Serpentine, the Men of Stone, the Valanders, the Monarchs, the Ducans, the Handmen, blah, blah, blah. There's groups of people that have their own problems and characters. And then you have the cast, the main cast. Like, like the story cast. Martis, Quirtus, Cyphrus, Nacum, Anna, Titus, Eris, Adruli, Alastra, Vesemir. I'm trying to name them all. Let me try to see if I can do this. Oh my God. What is Alastra's buddy's name? No. He's the son of a nobleman, a king. He's the son of a king. Fuck, what was that guy's name again? Oh, no. I don't remember. But there was that guy. There's a couple other characters, Jacob Scott. He doesn't tell me his characters. I don't really know. He tells me a bit, but nothing vivid where it helps me keep them in my mind. But he's got a few more characters, right? Then you have Tycrodius for Kevin's characters, and Vathia, Gearlore, what's that one guy's name? Vandensteer. Then the guy underneath Vandensteer, I don't remember his name. Kevin's got a cast as well. That's even more of a fog to me. And that's the cast. Like, that's all the people there, too. It's fucking crazy. It's a lot going on. Not like, this is life-changing. This book will be new. I mean in my mind to keep track of all this shit. Hence why I do these videos and stuff. And hence why I always want to ask them, like, can you tell me, like, what you're doing? Can you help me understand? And, of course, I either don't get a response or I just don't get a response. It's like, okay, what's happening? I need to know. If you're going to help me, then you got to tell me what you're doing, or else I don't know how to keep that straight. So that's that, anyway. Next, my friends, will be the paper that I was reading. My God. The one that I was writing, which is even longer than that one. So that all was happening. It was helping me just kind of understand this world. Like, okay, I think I'm getting it. This fog is clearing in my mind. It's a bit much when it comes, because I'm looking at the circle and then how to transcend and all that. I'm looking at it and it's a bit much. It's a lot. We're talking about a philosophy here and a mythology, and we're talking about it's a lot. It's a lot. But it's doable. And then I was thinking about Quinlan. I was like, okay, well, that was my point. That's my pause that I was taking because I was going to do an episode about Quinlan. Which I still could do. I could pause it here. I mean, how long have I been going? I'm going for almost, 50 minutes. 48, almost 49 in a few seconds. And I could say, well, that's a catch-up episode. We're going to talk next time about Quinlan. Or I could just fucking talk about Quinlan right now. I feel like I got him. I mean, I wrote a little short story at the end of this thing about him. Of the introduction of mankind. For the first time, I wrote man's birth into the world. And it was so interesting because I didn't know where this is going. Again, stream consciousness writing. I just said, let's write a story about Quinlan. Just go. Just see what happens. And then it just happened. So I birthed mankind. I kind of watched them happen. And I have all these things about Quinlan in this notebook. For some reason, One's him talking. I've read that, I think. I read them out. In the one episode. The one where I said, next time we'll talk about Quinlan, even though I talked about Quinlan in that whole episode. So I'll put it back in the file cabinet for NAW now. Which the filing cabinet got filled up pretty quickly too. I've been writing and I've been printing a lot. A lot for how much I've been working. I was working like at least 50-hour weeks still. Like I thought, like I'll have a lull between Christmas and that. No. It was a fucking bitch. It was horrible. It was rough. It was tiring. A lot happened. I made a lot of money though. So I guess that's a positive. But Jesus Christ, hopefully it slows down. Because man, I didn't get any time to do this. I would just get home and I'd just be so fucking tired I'd sleep. And then I'd wake up. And then I'd go back to sleep because I was still too tired just to be up. It was a lot. I'm worn the fuck out. But we got today and tomorrow. And then Christmas is fucking over. Thank fucking Christ. Goddamn people, dude. I don't believe the stay-at-home order. I'm going to go with my family. Okay. So, here is the last article. Again, stream of consciousness. Bear that in mind. I think... I don't remember. I think I did this at work again. I wrote this on lunch. So we'll see what happens here. Because I don't remember. I remember the story part. I don't remember everything before. So this is me. The beginning part is me figuring it out. What is this? What is that? What is this? What is that? Kind of thing. And then I'm trying to form together like stories within it. Like, well, let's just kind of write like a little short story about it. Let's just pretend it's also a, what's the word I'm looking for? What's that fucking word? Kind of like a report, I guess. Someone's saying like what you'd read in the appendix, in the back of a book, of a fantasy book or something. The one behind the mask. The one who has seen all. This translucent May, he let it consume him, only to become what has happened. He was and now is fear. The weaver of the sky, the placer of our dreams. Quinlan. This is the beginning. The creation of the order and their mission by the keepers. What is known in the realms beyond... I'm sorry, I lost the paper. Is it safe to say? Not much. Sorry, it is not. It is safe to say, not much. For many have been able to answer the riddle the I have not been able. For you can find these poor souls in the asylums of the monarchs in Dunzuria. There have only been a few that have hazarded the insanities. The ones who have passed through the barrier tell of an immense passage of realms. The last to do so was Freydin, and it was he who would pass through them into the realm of creation. Aside from this, there has never really been a collection on the beings that inhabit these places. But there is one group that has its hands throughout that place, and even the realm of life. They are only known as the Keepers. For what the Keepers are is to this one elusive. What can be said is they pose no threat on mankind, or even Inaku for that matter. Some have called them watchers, others have called them weavers. A few even said observers. The last of the monarchs to have spoken to one was Odysseus, and it was written of a chance meeting that would decide the fate of Euandra. And this is from that chance meeting that was found. The farthest outpost of mankind, mortal man's absolute limit, gathers the ones called the observers, to gaze upon man and his devastating mark on the land. They watch as merely spectators on day-to-day growth of man's consciousness. They would see the behavior as one massive being stirring and turning, thrashing its arms to and fro. In their seclusion, they have been known to meddle on the affairs and deviate the ever-present straightforwardness of the swinging arms of destruction. As the beast fights to free itself from bondage, one that the Creator has devised, it was all too clear the beast was fighting for its life. For that is what they call man, the beast. As they speak of man, only do they think of a mass life, as one single living entity, one that does great harm yet can be a force to reckon with. There are a few men in antiquity that have discovered this outer reaching place and survive, for it could be a cerebral elevation as much as an undiscovered land. The prophet Odysseus would discover the path to elevation, throwing himself away from the beast. He eventually contacted the observers, being the first man in centuries to do this. It was then he would learn of Timaeus' eventual betrayal, causing the great rift between the foundation of man's presence on Vas. This would bring forth the separation of brother, the single greatest event in history, carving up division between blood. This was the beginning of the great nations drawing lines upon the ground and migrating vast quantities of folk between dualities. Now, we are not here focusing on man's story, but instead the tale of the men of stone, as they were called. Man they were not. Instead, they were the arm of the mighty keepers, conduits, if you will. They would be sent to the realm of life for unknown purposes, at least for a time, to man. They would be sent down and would end up at the highest places of society throughout the kingdoms of Man, May, Valander, and all the other races of Yuandra. Their purpose was never clear, but what was clear was in their own mind. They sought to correct the balance, because they are apart from the portal. They must protect themselves against the troubles that seek throughout the realm of life. For this is combated when they wear the mask of the ancients. It allows the user to stay in contact with whomever is on the other end. In this use, the spirits are most beneficial. Hold on, the spirits are what they communicate with, or to, or through, however you want to word it, with these masks. They were sent down by the keepers, right? Into the realm of life. These observers said, you will go down there and you will correct these situations. These men were called the stone in their language. They weren't men. These things, whatever these entities are, I don't know exactly what yet, what race, what alien race they are, whatever you want to call them. But they were sent down into the realm of life by these observers. Now, they communicate back through what is called the spirits. We'll get into the spirits in a minute. But that's how they communicate through. And in these masks, it's like a receiver. It's like a walkie-talkie kind of thing. It allows them to transcend into that realm, but it also allows them to visually understand the realm of life. It is a very complicated thing right now. It is a device that I am working on, okay? But as of right now, it is a major tool. Now, let's talk about the spirits. Again, I call them the Men of Stone because they've always been known as that, just for fun. They're not man. They're not May. They resemble more May because of the bodies they chose. Some of them. Some of them might have chosen male bodies. Like, not male, I'm sorry. Human form and all that. But what of the Women of Stone? Oh, jeez. I never thought of that. The spirits that come in with the one in need. The Men of Stone. They give the opportunity to have a choice. For when they're God damn, I can tell I'm off. For within the realm of life is where free will runs wild. So, when the keepers commune to the Men of Stone, they are given the choice to progress further. The answer to the dilemma are not given but taken. The keepers understood that the barrier of righteousness and holiness will never bleed through the realm. Only in that place do those who travel through take the worst of themselves, no matter their cause. It will always be viewed through ambition or achievement. This is why the faith of the spirits is so important to the Men of Stone. They took a vow for the guidance of their masters, the spirits. It will not dictate their lives, but allow them to carry an awareness, to see the darkness in the world, but not become immune to it. This was how the Men of Stone fell apart in the Second Age. When mankind took the Dume from May, they would find themselves fixing the mistakes of a world that never asked that of them, the movers of time. I think what I was basically kind of going at was, once you pass through that slumbering beast, that the whisper, that kind of this gatekeeper from the dark dream into this realm of life, when he's fucking there, as soon as you pass through him, this creature, you take with you all the darkness within it. So it's almost like, with all the good intent you might have, passing through there, you're going to come out the other end with ambition, greed, all these negative things, fear, and it's going to dictate what's going on in the realm of life. So the realm of life is dictated by fear. It is coveting love, but dictated by fear, much like our fucking world. So that's kind of what I'm talking about there. Now, I'm assuming these masks help in that process. Again, these spirits keep them on the right path as hard as it can. It's not like a foolproof, like, and you'll never become corrupted. It says it's able to, how would I word it? Decipher these situations, because when you're in life, just like again in real life, you don't realize you're walking into fear. You don't realize that it's dictating your life. It's just happening. Now, the idea of the spirits is basically my plan, saying higher consciousness. It's about being cognizant of your life and understanding the things going on around you. It's something like that. So it's basically it's allowing you to be at peace and just say, okay, definitely something dark's happening here. I'm going to kind of be aware that there's some bad things ahead or whatever. That's the point of it. That's all I was going after when I was writing that part. That these spirits are basically just an awareness shift. Now the mask must aid in that process as well, as when it comes to passing through the barrier, this beast. I don't know yet. I'm not sure. The spirits are the pillars of the faith that was established by the keepers. When one understands, quote, all in its place, all in its own time, end quote, one must understand when to and when not to intervene. There are times when the choice is to step away, but there are indeed times when the keepers deem it so to give a nudge in the direction of growth and self. This is a hard choice to make, so that is where the spirits come in. It is like a synthetic consciousness coming from the other realm. When it bleeds through in the mask, period, not to continue, a moral quandary that can shake the foundation of faith. This is why the Men of Stone were chosen. They were believed to uphold the highest standard of the Keeper order and make the wrong a right in the realm of life. For no matter if the frequency is corrupted, still the faith of the user is to be trusted by the highest authority. We have a group of devoted monks, essentially. We have a group of men that have devoted, or whatever, men, women, things, it's, whatever you want to call it, binary, non-binary, I don't know what any of that means. We have a group of things that essentially are kind of trained like monks. That's to correct the situation at hand, but have intense training and have the rigorous understanding of their own doctrine to be their guiding fate. Now, again, that's where the spirits come in, and that's their job, to decipher these spirits, this synthetic consciousness of them. The hierarchy of the Men of Stone. If one is going to continue speaking of the Men of Stone, then one must understand what they truly are called. The names given by the ancients. Oops, I forgot to correct that one. Now, the name's a bit much, but I love it. The name given by the ancients, the Naniran, is the roughest translation that was ever found. Naeiniiran. N. The Nanirin. Nanirin. However, it's Nanirin, Nanirin. It doesn't really matter. I think I'll probably just say the Nanirin. Because I have that flat, Midwestern accent. But I bet someone's like, Nanirin. That's the Nanirin. The Nanirin. What about Nanrin? Sure. I don't care. How you pronounce it's not important. Okay. For they do not speak the name in the realm of life. The Nanirin are consisting of, as of right now, conceptually 7. There are 7 of them. There might be more, I don't know yet. They act in unison, for they will always be able to commune with one another fluidly and with ease, no matter the distance between them, as well, of course, their masters far beyond. They do not act, however, as one single-minded consciousness, but rather the different biases one mind would make before any decision. Though there is a clear leader among them, one who stands higher and above the rest. This will explain the faith of the order. So I think I said 7 because, let me see. Tantorum, Adrana, Dubois, the South, Quran, Atrovia. What's 5? Let me see. Is there another nation I'm missing? Perhaps the clans in the mountains, mountain folk, the Naril. And then maybe the Wild North. I don't know. I think I was trying to say each nation has their own or something. Who knows? The devoted believer. Quinlan, who looks to restore the state of the Creator and rid the world of the blasphemous Dulag. Though his intention is somewhat shared by the Serpentine and Naku alike, he was forbade to interfere in their groups. In fact, he and his brethren are strictly forbidden to directly intervene in the affairs of the realm of life. They are more of movers, or even consuls, but equal parts they must move the chains with all people, not a select few. It is about neutrality. Now they must play a careful game as to not go against their masters. But if they are careful, then they try to persuade those into making things happen. Listen, I can't directly get involved, I can't be seen getting involved with you, but I can sell you some stuff, give you some help, much like, again, our real world. It's one of those things. So we can't directly be seen helping you. The spirits forbade it, in a sense. Well, I don't know about that. Again, that's such a new concept. I couldn't tell you how the spirits exactly work. I don't really know yet. That's new. That is a brand new thing, So they kind of have to find subtle ways to do things. They have to find workarounds. They have to be clever. I thought it would just make the stories interesting. I thought it would make their eventual plots a little bit more interesting when it comes to no, you got to kind of maintain a neutrality, of mind because of the portal that you went through. You face corruption more easily than even man in May, that shit. Now they must play a careful game as to not go against their masters. But if they are careful, then they try to persuade those into making things happen. They must do it in secret. One would say they do not become law. They must do it in secret, one would say, so that they do not become lost to their beliefs. It is all about stretching the truth, as opposed to submitting to an ideal. Corruption does not become an issue My God. See, I love how the problem isn't the grammar. It's not like, the grammar was fixed. I'm adding words that aren't there. It doesn't say does not. It just says does. Corruption does become an issue to even men of stone in time. For the realm of life is like that. Again, now I eliminated a word. It can make sinners out of anyone. It could ruin the justice one carries in its heart, if only for a brief reprieve of judgment. the way one stumbles upon it, how it catches their eye. This is the beginning of the descent that will even take the men of stone. It would seem all beings coming to the realm of life will eventually fall to darkness that lingers, like that of a slumbering beast hovering before the portal in. Now begins the story of Quinlan. His story will be called The Curse of Quinlan, actually. I'm going to call it that. And this is going back into the realm of the circle. This is going back to the circle, okay? It's going to fix, okay. There was a great schism felt throughout all the realms, shaking the foundation of the Yale realm. That's another realm, by the way. It sent out a shockwave that called into question just what the Aeon were up to. It was clear that Dulag was to abandon the council seat, but to enter the Forbidden Realm was exile, and he knew of this. Now they had every right to do so. After all, the Realm of Life was that new place, and new places are, if anything, quite a commodity. Yet, after they left, they made it clear that they seek to go against the written laws of the heavens. They were exiled forever, and could never linger in the minds of the High Council, though in time a disturbance was felt beyond, one that swallowed all in a shadow. It was like a storm brewing out in the distance, though for the Aeon a storm could only mean one thing: war. The Naniran would be sent after the quake was felt far beyond the circle. That very quake, as it was called, will be known as the War of Gods. The task came at the behest of the Keepers. The time had come, their mission sent. They would now forfeit their lives in the circle and put faith in the spirits. This would mean being sent through the impossible in order to make right. Though going against the Aeon was not going to be easy. In preparation, they were given special conduits to enter, ones that allowed their essence to pass through the realm, as well as ones that could even mimic life beyond. Through their special helms, they would be able to commune back to the Keepers. But there was one sad fate. To leave the circle meant that they must also be exiled. It was the law. There would be no return. Whatever they left behind, it was for eternity. Then they passed through the realms and fell out. Oh man, we're in the realm of life. Good Christmas. In the realm of life. In time, the Naniran, that now inhabited the realm of life, became advisors to high classes of Anak society. Those fucking blasted Aeon were going to be crushed by the Men of Stone and everyone else. Quinlan and his brothers were in the employment of the Anaku king. I don't remember his name. I couldn't find it. It's written somewhere. They guided and protected him, for it was the Keepers who deemed it so many years ago. In that ancient timeless place, the Men of Stone, as they were later known as, helped the last of the Anaku king rise up against the mighty Aeon. I'm gonna yawn, hold on. This chaos that ended many long years of peace. The Aeon took the world in all-out war. A bitter war was waged. It had taken all beings and thrust them into conflict that almost ended time. After a long conflict, the Dark Aeon were cast into the darkness, and for centuries the Anaku lived in a quiet peace, one that was even enjoyed by the weary Naniran. Over 1,000 years of peace reigned as the Anaku flourished. They spread like pollen in the air with the roaming trees of old. The old places of the world were now sealing shut, and the portals became more and more concentrated, sprouting great mighty trees in their places, trees that communicated the voice of Gaia, their mother. It was magic that held together all of Euandra, a coveted salve on the consciousness of its people. In time, cities and villages sprung up all around the land, spreading across rivers and seas. It was a time called the relaxed breath, according to the reckoning of the Anakume. The world was finally healed from those wicked beings that had tormented all before them, enslaving May and killing their gods. The Men of Stone brought a great understanding to the Anaku of what life lies beyond. What lied after ascension, what awaited them in the afterlife. But when news arrived of strange beings stirring in the dark places of the world, it was then known that something ill was to follow. I'm gonna yawn again, I'm sorry. Here's a quote. This is the king. The Inaku king. What are we to do? My people tell me of creatures stirring in the muck. They say the forests have become tainted in their blood. Dark things that twist the air and taint the forest floor. Some evil magic has grown in Trinity. Tell me, what must a king do for his people? How am I to lead them forth? The mighty Inaku king looked deeply through Quinlan. His words were true. But as for what was to come, Quinlan only knew it was a bad omen indeed. The Aeon were always beings that left their stink behind to fester. It was time that the Naniran called upon the old voices to guide them once again into the new era. Though there was no telling if this next choice would be the final. For the break from the spirits was inevitable. Their faith was waning over time. The touch seemed farther and farther away. Their connection to the spirits was depleting. It was stretching beyond its limits. At some point, something must be done to correct this, yet that story will not surface for a time. The growth of man in the forest was quiet, to say the least. At first, it did not seem to be what was felt by the Inaku elders, the fear they held. Quinlan had tasked his most trustful partner, Caius, to accompany him to discover the source of this disturbance. For his brothers had gone far and wide to discover similar disturbances throughout the province of Aiel. Within the eye of the forest that led down the deepest and darkest trench was a place that became lost to time. Over the years, the abandoned thoughts and memories of war still lingered. It was as if the grudge of Dulag still lingered. His echo still ran deep, begging of freedom from his prison. Quinlan purged all he could through the forest. The web of lies had grown to entangle all on its path. He could feel great power that coursed like an infection through the trees, twisted and misshapen. Caius was fearful, but he held his resolve. He showed great strength, that he could abide the darkness with such ferocity. The long and dark echoes of a bygone era permeated the dense air. Stale, stagnant whispers could creep into one's ears of promises. Promises that fought all logic in his mind. He knew this was the work of that ancient being. For this was the place that held no love of the light. It was in the dark passages that threats lingered and fears subsided. Quinlan knew this place was holding a great evil, a powerful spell. What was within was a foul thing indeed, though he could not feel it sensing out for his presence. Whatever it was not intelligent. More like a mindless entity crawling on the forest floor, prowling for sustenance, rather than a predator sulking in the dark. He still needed to be cautious, for any mistake could be his last, especially in a place such as he found himself in. Alongside him, Caius never spoke. His lips never uttered just what Quinlan knew he was feeling. It was growing. Whatever it was growing and growing fast. They needed to hurry and find the source of its power so that they might crush it before it grew too powerful. They ran through the fog that clung to the foliage and wrapped around the mighty trees. Quinlan controlled his breathing so that he might sense out the entity. It had grown. There were multiple beings, hundreds in fact, if not thousands, before they could reach it. There was no sound. It was void from their ears, a moment of reprieve. A glimpse of one last silence that would never touch the face of Yuandre again. Then he heard it. The many beatings of desynchronized hearts. The pounding of life throughout the forest was beating. It wasn't until he saw it, pulling his torch over them, revealing that which he felt to be true. They were countless huddled beings, cold and naked in the dark, their skin pale and translucent. He could see fluid flowing through them. They had no eyes. They had no distinction from one another. They shivered cold and afraid in the dark. Quinlan could see their beating hearts of black pumping rhythmically, a constant emitting of light flickering upon each beat. Caius rose his hand against them, but Quinlan suddenly stopped him. A moment of reprieve for the pathetic thing. One lifted its eyeless head up to Quinlan and cowered under him. Quinlan knew what it was. They were the beings created by Dulag. They were the cursed ones. Something would not allow him to take up his might against them. Something that stayed his hand. As they trembled, his heart grew sad knowing their fate, and what the Anaka would do if they found out. It was in this moment that the voices came through, the spirits, carrying throughout his metal mask. The spirit voice was so faded at this point, not as clear as it once was. He wanted to answer, but he felt he couldn't get one. What stays your hand? The whisper echoed. What stops you from your oath? He could not answer, not in that moment. Why do you seek the retribution? Why do you feel they can be saved? Then the voices cut out harshly. Everything was still within his helm. He could still hear a muffled voice that was Caius nudging at him. Quinlan, what are we to do with these things? Shall I? No, Quinlan replied. I need you to return to our camp. Bring me my provisions I packed. Bring me everything. I will linger here for a while longer. Return to me when you have them, and I'll tell you what we must do. His mind raced at the thought. It couldn't have been. ... This moment, this is going out of the story because I ran out of, momentum. This moment is when Quinlan pitied the lowest beings that did not crush them. This is a mistake that will be forever placed upon him. Yet this was the beginning of his strange compassion for mankind. Then later, this is much later, I was going to build up to this point. When the kingdom man entered the wood once again, it was Tanais who had put the sword to the body of the Anaku king. That was like when mankind rose up, formed, and started doing its own thing. Tanais was born hundreds of years later. The story of Tan already happened. Is that the Forgotten King's damnation and all that. So it definitely, this is after the Snake in the Portal story. This is after a big chunk of time. Okay? So this isn't just this happened next. Many things happened until this. The Forgotten King was said to be in exile in the Great Tree, but he was really imprisoned there. When the king was killed, that's also right there. That's one of those things where it's like, mankind says that the Forgotten King went to exile into that tree for he felt bad for the sins of what he's done and destroyed the Titans and the other Aeon and all that. No, he was sent there, dipshit. When everything gets recycled. Well, no, oops, I'm sorry. When the king was killed, so did the Whisper plant the seed of doubt in the Forgotten King. It was his wife that was killed in order to take the king away in the realm of creation, where everything gets recycled. There he was cast as his body was destroyed by mankind. Thus the magic that held Forgotten King in prison was loosed. Quinlan and his brethren were not allowed to intervene. They had to watch as the realm of life fell into chaos and darkness, planting the seeds of darkness within the order that would not surface for a century. It was in time that he held a seat in the council for some reason. We'll find out how. He was involved. Okay, yeah, he was always. He was in time. He would be in the seat of council. I know why now. It's not for some reason anymore. He was always seen as a protector of the Anaku people. Blah blah blah. It was told of what intended to do. Okay, I found it. He was involved in the vote to establish, or perhaps fund in some way, or give blessing to, the Serpentine Order. It was told of what they intended to do to mankind. The threat was seen. And this began the gathering of monarchs in history. This is agreed upon by those in Lyria, Dubois, and Etrovia. That, my friends, is that really rough one I read before. Let's read it again. Oh, just read it again. Please don't. Please don't read it. I'm going to. Now this is fucking rough. It's not the way I write anymore, but I'm gonna go for it. The betrayal within the order. Quinlan always had a knack for stirring up trouble around him. Yet he always looked to discover truths about what threatens the world. He's seen as a nuisance even with his own order. Even though the Serpentine Order had arose from nothing, and even rising to power as a major player in Atria, governing body, they were always looked out as outsiders. Okay, so that's when they're like, okay, the Serpentine Order is a thing. What are we to do about that? Inakame, assemble. And so the Inakame got together, and they're like, well, let's talk about this. Is this something we want to go with? They say that they have an idea how to fix our problem that mankind has caused. Serpentine Order, tell us what it is. And like, well, what we're thinking is the blood of mankind now holds the Dume that was stolen from us. For some reason, somehow, someone figured out that thing that the Narhil make, that thing they pull from the ground, that magical essence, whatever that is, if we mix that with the blood of mankind, can we create an elixir of life to extend our lives until we figure out the dilemma that we have? Oh, that sounds reasonable. Let's hear them out, And they're like, well, we don't really know how to extract the blood per se. It's not as if we could just bleed them and then it's good and dandy. There's something about it. We have a facility down near Lyria, which we've talked to the noble that lives there. Let's say his name is fucking Johnny Jason. And he said it was cool to go on his land and do this. The problem is this land lies very close to Tantoric facilities in the area. We think. It's hard to say. It's supposed to be, if I'm not mistaken, Hill 464. Isn't that like... No. I don't think that's near the Valens. I think that's like near the Trinity Forest. If anything, this is our sacred land, Our tainted sacred land that mankind has destroyed. A cursed fucking forest. Not only is this going to be a place where we're trying to solve this problem, but we can begin to heal the world here. We have our top scientists to solve the problems of the taint of the forest. We're trying to help discover that so then we can lend aid to Dubois and stop that from spreading. And then after that, we can figure out the curse of life that we're having here and we're fading. We can solve that problem. And we think we know how to do it, and it has to do with the fucking Dulac, the Forgotten King. If we can pull him, and then they tell him the story, or they're pulling him, extracting him from their own creation, might cause the shift in balance. We think we can figure it out. And so all these, like, councilmen of Lyria and, at the time I said Dubois, I think. I still think there's parts of Dubois that are Anaku, probably. They got together... And then the Atrovians, and they said, let's make a vote. Like, is this the course of action that the Inaku should take? And Quinlan was there. And they made that so, and then Quinlan said, being that he lent aid to Lyria, it's like like Lyrian Inaku, head of states, like, Quinlan, what say you? And this might not even work anymore because of the way it's worded, but I'm going to read it out so you can get the vibe of what's going on. Inside the courts, there's the quiet hush of the darkness among mankind. Yeah, they're starting to sense something growing amongst them. For a century, it had spread in secret under the watchful eye of the Serpentine, calling into question the competence and integrity of the order. Quiet rumbles and were quickly put at ease when the magistrate entered the room of the provincial governors. We have been a republic for over 135 years. It is only of late our emperor has taken control of this failing system. Our loyalty lies with him. After all, he has let you keep your seats in the Senate. Our emperor is an understanding May, but when one fails him, his wrath will truly show. The Serpentine Order was kept morally on ceremonial grounds. This is known to us all. But when incompetence rears its head, yes, we will call into question one's integrity, and why we're here speaking of the Serpentine Order. It is true. For over 150 years, we have now had peace. We've had peaceful relations with man across the channel in Voss. But new evidence has been arising of a plague spreading like wildfire. And I know you have concerns of our people and their safety. I have learned from my very trusted orator some shocking developments. For this I will turn your attention to him. An older man rose from his seat. With a smile on his face, he stroked the table and laughed. Our Lord is mysterious, for we never know his true intent. Only after do we begin to see his plan. This plague that is now spreading across Voss, need I remind you, where man holds his dominion, is an answer to our prayers. He has looked to the final eradication of the threat, the deliverer. Quinlan rose from his seat. No longer could he hold it. The plague is sweeping across Voss now, in this very moment. And the payback in your minds for centuries ago is your only thoughts. It's sick. This will affect us all. You must understand. We share this world. Can you not see? It's already affecting us, not the deliverer. We must beware of darkness. We have been tempted with power we cannot foresee. The old myths foretold of an emergence of power that would bring forth change for our people. Promises of redemption and justice. What if a dark being was the one to whisper this in our ears? It was known as the great call to our people, but what makes it so? You must see, we are pawns in a game we do not understand. I plead now to stop this for the sake of our people. That's where Quinlan's is trying to say, listen, guys, like, we can't let, because they're talking about, like, well, he's basically saying, like, listen, man, this deliver and the threat that's going on, and we're sitting here talking about the Serpentine Order, and they failed a little bit, but maybe they have some things that they are trying to prove, and maybe they got a point. He's like, hey, man, I'm just trying to say, I don't think this is going to work. I think something's fucky happening. Something far worse. He's not telling them, like, by the way, I'm from the other realm and all that. He's we. He is I, he is we. He's a part of their order with them. I think in his mind, he's just trying to say, hold on. Because he does he holds he likes mankind. It was because of him that mankind has risen. Now, maybe that's why he'll push himself extra harder to correct the mistakes, but he'll always have that soft spot for mankind in his heart because it was him. And maybe that's the darkness within himself, and that's speaking through him saying, no, don't crush me. We don't really know yet. But he's trying to point out and say, listen, guys, we can't have this revenge in our hearts that, yes, mankind has caused our problems. Here's what the Serpentine Order is trying to do. We can't let that cloud us. This being that you're in communication with might be darker. And he's obviously what slowly happens is kind of like an amnesia. The longer you're in the realm of life, the more you forget what's going on in the circle. And again, the spirits have been fading. I mean, the spirits were fading back when mankind wasn't made yet. At this point, this is like maybe a couple years before the book begins. That's actually written. So like 1646 or something to 45. Mid 1640s is when this is happening. Okay? So they're definitely talking about this. And the funny thing is, like, the Teaways aren't involved. Well, they're not called Teaways. I'm sorry. They're the Southern Anaku. They're nowhere to be found in this. They're not here. They refuse to come. So there's already a divide among the Anakume, and then that's where Mycia is, and we'll get into that in a minute. But I think Quinlan is just... He's trying to stay their thoughts from going into greed and going into darkness. We must not have revenge in our hearts. This dilemma is a true dilemma, but I don't think the elixir of life is the way to do this. And of course, that's his opinion. He can't force it. And as we know, because of Lyra, it does happen. They actually do this process with the monarchs. This begins. So it's not like the old thought that I was saying, like maybe they're doing this for hundreds of years, and how do they do it? And so many monarchs, they've only been doing this for a few years. So that's why they were able to get away with this, right? Quirtus's story of he was involved in this, doing this for a few years. Maybe in the past they were doing. Maybe they've been doing it, but they haven't officially been doing it in the fucking scope of the Anakume. Maybe it was the Serpentine Order just doing it on their own to discover if it worked for like some odd years. And then some time ago is when the Quinlan, God damn, I get Quirtus Quinlan. The Quirtus and Marta story happened. So that's a thing, okay? And obviously Quinlan's just trying to stay their hand from, the darkness, really. The Southern Naku were not part of this tribunal because they were the ones who fled with Odysseus. Yeah, they hold some, like, respect for man as well. The Man of Stone must be separate a political group, blah, blah, blah. I think that's me. The Mask, the Man of Stone is... Yes. Yeah, okay. So the rest of it is literally me saying, make sure they do this, make sure this happens. Try to talk about this, and blah, blah, blah. Stone could not transcend the realm of the Aeon like the Aeon did. They had to have a physical connection in order to inhabit. This is the first mistake, or it was not. They do not have to follow what is established for them. They can be whatever they want to be. Think of something new, blah, blah, blah. I believe okay. There was a bit of lore that was made years ago about the Anaku turning their bodies to the spirit to share a symbiotic relationship. This is how the stone were able to obtain their vessels. It's like one of the Anaku had to become, listen, you got to invite one of us in. Now, since they basically said, like, we're, God's telling us that the Titans that were destroyed, like, they can help us if we have a select chosen few, let their body be inhabited by this spirit. In reality, it was the Men of Stone needing a portal. Now, since they were encased in the body of the Anaku when the Anaku king was killed and began to fade from the world, the Anaku began to fade from the world. But for the stone, they would lose their bodies in time, but not lose their soul. And their bodies turned into a stone-like material. That was one thing. And I think I said also, like, it's because it's like almost like a robot. I don't know. Yes, that's for the most part. That's it. That's kind of what I've been up to when it comes to the story of Quinlan and the book in general. Definitely lore heavy has been like kind of in my mind and just cementing things together. Without going into it too much further and, I think maybe this and that, and, this episode's trying to be catching up. It's, closing in an hour 40. The last thing that I did want to mention as well is my approach to the book. So, again, stream of conscious writing. When I wrote to a certain point, I think I wrote all the way to Calendre, and there's about to be a thing happening, right? I wrote to that point, stream of conscious. I didn't plan any of that. I don't know why it happened. It's not incredibly detailed. It's just jumping to that point. It's. I mean, if I were to edit it, you would think it was the book. But what I'm doing now is I had to go back to a spot that I didn't realize was a big blank spot, and I'm writing to it. And I had a realization. Now that you know where you're going, and you obviously cut in parts that you like about what you've already written. You can write it better now because you're not stressed out thinking like, where am I going? What am I doing? What am I going? I don't know what to do. Fuck. And so I was writing in such a way where it's like, I didn't know what was going to happen next. I had no fucking idea. I just wrote to a point and stopped. Now I know where I'm going. Let's go back. And because I'm like, I was either going to take that part from before and connect it. I'm like, but the story seems, maybe I should keep writing. And writing like, okay, well, I know what's coming next. Let's rewrite that part. Let's kind of have it next to us, look at it, and just kind of write it anew. And like, okay, hit the main points that you want. You meet this person, that happens, this happens. You know, he does this, he does that. We'll kind of keep that memorized, but let's rewrite it. Let's update that writing style. Now that you're not like panicky and like fucking, what am I doing? You already know what's going to happen, so you don't have to tell your mind like, okay, we can't dwell here. We need to move forward or else we're going to forget what to do. Now it's just, we know what's going to happen. It's fine. Let's write to it. Let's weave the story a little bit better. That's what I'm going to do. And that's what I was talking about with the story. I'm thinking about the rewrite, not rewrite. I always say that word, but I'm writing it differently now. So that began with Checkpoint Alleran. And right now we're falling out of Checkpoint Alleran. We're going to have a section here. Then it's going to jump into Refuge. And then we're just going to write. We're just going to go from there. Which has already put us, we're like at 80,000 words now, finally. We've hit the mark. We're past 80,000 words. So holy shit, man. This was a long update video. Of course, really loud for no reason. I think that's all I got, honestly. I think just about covers everything that I've been thinking about. I never know what to name these videos. My God. Update 2? Another update? I'm back? No one cares if I'm back or not. No one's listening. I don't know. I'll figure something out. I'll do something. I'll probably just call it a second update or something. And then in like parentheses or whatever, Quinlan's story and high story. Yeah, or some shit. I don't know. Yeah. I think I got it. I think I figured it all out. I think I've written to a point. I'm gaining confidence in the book because I'm allowing myself to be free in it and stop restricting myself and saying like, you have to do this and you need to do that and this and that and stay in these lines. I'm allowing myself to go outside, and it's caused a whole new imagining of the book. And relieved a lot of tension that I was having within myself. I was having a lot of like problems, like when it comes to like, well, what do I do? And and limiting myself. Now I'm free, and the idea that there's so much more going on there. Not only am I gonna have to write all that shit I said earlier about the moving parts and all the nations and all the characters and all that shit. Now there's like a bunch of fucking things and the realms entirely, and that's a quadrants of galaxies, and we're talking like solar systems of different groups and stuff. And it's like, what makes me happy about that is I thought like, because I've always wanted to write a sci-fi as well. I'm like, I want to do a sci-fi. You haven't even finished your fucking fantasy book, dumb fuck. How are you gonna write a sci-fi? You're not gonna be able to do it. Well, let's combine them, sci-fi fantasy. So the sci-fi part is going to be within the realm, and it's almost like what will happen is the story Eris will do a thing, and he'll be like, I'm going into exile, failed have I, and he leaves, and he goes to the other realm. Then he'll have a series of stories within the other realm, the sci-fi story, places where like maybe spaceships exist and shit. I don't fucking know. Or some sort of travel. I'll think of something. And then the next story will continue with like Alastra and Vathi and all that stuff. And then they're going to carry the fantasy part. And they're able to open up the world. Because Eris's world is so small. It's because I don't want the reader to focus on the big picture stuff. At that point, when Eris's story is done, if they've invested into the world, then Vathia and Alastra will be able to say, and then the politics of Tantorum and this and that, and this person, like it's going to open it up more. And their stories are going to be the separation of brother idea. They're going to be the concept of left and right, communist versus Democrat, fucking, I don't know, conservative Republican, whatever. I don't remember those things are. Those things. That's going to portray that and the idea of like people can fucking, if they talk and they could be friends even if they don't agree, because people don't think that anymore. That's going to be kind of their storyline there, and the rise and fall and the lost prince with Vathia and Elastra's fall into madness and becoming the Forgotten King. And so that'll happen with those two, and they're just going to fucking charge forward and carry the story until Eris comes back. Eris will be like a separate series called Within the Circle or some shit. And then that'll be the stories of what's going on over there that will somehow connect back, and it'll portray the high story. So I figured out how to lay this all out. It is a mighty endeavor. It is not going to take me a few years. It is going to take me 20 more years to even conceptualize this in a way and get it done right. I swear to God, this is not going to be done in my lifetime. At this rate, I'm going to have to do something to get out of a 40-hour-a-week job. That's the only way I can do it. And that's what I want this fucking channel to do. But how do you get people interested in videos where they don't know what the fuck you're talking about? What the hell's going on here? What's he talking about? Because I don't organize it properly. I need help. I need help doing this. But we're going to get by, and we're going to let God take it. If they say, I'm just going to trust in faith and trust in the Creator and say, let's just, whatever happens, happens. But on that note, I'm going to end it. I don't know when I'm going to do the next one. Maybe I do it later today. I don't know. I got all day if I don't fall asleep. Yeah. But anyway, I'm going to end it here. And hopefully this was a good update and keeps people informed, the two people that listen. And we'll go from there, man. I'm just going to, I think my next goal is going to be just start writing the book. I've done a lot of lore thinking. Let's start, writing. Let's go. So I'm getting an Olarin, and we're about to go into the next section. I'm just going to do that. That's going to be kind of cool. So I'm going to let myself go a little bit and just build. I know where I'm going to get. I need to get to Refuge. I'll go look at a map, and I'll see where I'm at now and just kind of pinpoint, okay, how do I want to portray this? That's a long way to get from Olarin to Refuge. That's like, I couldn't tell you. State lines, you're driving pretty far. But anyway, I'm all done. And almost a 2-hour update video. Not really. It's like hour 47. Remember when I was trying to say, like, well, my next episode's going to be about the Valens and all that. Haven't done that yet. What could I even talk about the Valens at this point? Quinlan and I basically did it. This was kind of a consolidation episode. The story about the Damned. I had to talk about. I kind of mentioned Etrovia and Dubois, in this episode a bit. I've not yet done the Snake in the Portal. Snake in the Portal is the part that begins the Dume situation and the fading part, and Tanais and Odysseus and the brothers and all that shit. Have yet to tell that story as well. So I know I make lists and I'll get to them when I do. It's one of those things where you can't control thought. You can't if you limit yourself to I'm doing this next, I find then I lose all those opportunities of making something interesting. So yes, friends, I really hope the other guys heard this and they actually listen to these. They don't tell me they do. Kevin did once. It's like, oh, wow, you actually fucking listen to it. Holy shit. They're literally for you guys. I hope they listen to this one. Please listen to this one, guys. Hopefully there's some questions. That's the point. I want them to fucking ask me questions. Like, can you tell me if there's something that doesn't make sense, or do you need me to reedify, or can you tell me how you would interject your stuff into this, please? I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know. But anyway, I'm going to stop now. Now I am going to stop because we're almost at a minute or an hour and 50 here. It's one of my longest episodes yet, I think. Besides my reading of the book. So, Next one's going to be about something interesting, hopefully. And until next time.